What if I told you there's a forgotten corner of this earth where the sacred call to prayer hasn't been heard in 15 long years? Where an entire village of Muslims has slowly, deliberately forgotten the very name of Allah, where something ancient beyond comprehension, something hungry beyond measure, has been feeding on their souls one bargain at a time, and they don't even realize they're being consumed alive. If you're watching this alone right now, in the dark, you might want to turn on a light. Some stories don't end when the screen goes black. Some stories follow you home and wait until you close your eyes. And if you're not subscribed yet, you might miss what happens next. And trust me, you don't want to miss how this ends. Because before we're done here, you're going to see things that will make you question everything you thought you knew about faith, about darkness, about the price people pay when they forget God. Let me take you somewhere terrible tonight. Somewhere real in the worst possible sense, Indonesia. A remote village called Pokan, tucked away in mountains where maps simply leave blank spaces. On the surface, it looks like any other impoverished corner of the Indonesian countryside. Modest homes with rusted roofs bending under tropical rains, dusty roads winding between overgrown fields. People going about their lives with the quiet desperation of those who stopped hoping years ago. But underneath that deceptive calm, something has been rotting for 15 years. 15 years since anyone last heard the Adhan echo through these streets. 15 years since anyone bowed down in worship to Almighty Allah. Everyone here is Muslim, born Muslim, raised in households where grandparents probably prayed daily. But somehow, gradually, insidiously, this village forgot, or something made them forget. See, there's a reason for this spiritual amnesia, a terrible reason lurking in shadows between houses, hiding beneath floors of buildings that have stood for generations. There is a jinn dwelling here. Not just any jinn, a demonic entity of pure malevolence that has been pulling this village's strings from darkness for over a decade. This creature doesn't rattle chains or slam doors. It's far more sophisticated than that. It bargains. It offers people exactly what their greedy hearts desire: wealth, healing, power, revenge. In exchange for something far more precious than gold. It takes their faith, piece by piece, soul by soul, until nothing remains but empty shells going through hollow motions of life. And the human intermediary? A man named Molia. Molia was the village's shaman, their healer, their protector, their gateway to miracles. Their god, really. People came to him from everywhere with broken bodies and empty pockets, and somehow they walked away whole again, wealthy beyond dreams. Miracles, they called them. But miracles have a price. And Molia knew exactly what that price was. He served the jinn, he worshipped it, he fed it with sacrifices no one spoke aloud about. Until one night Molia was found dead. Murdered horrifically. His severed head sitting next to his body like a trophy. The jinn, suddenly without its vessel, began spiraling out of control. Its wrath turned toward the villagers directly. And caught in the middle? 3 students from a nearby Islamic boarding school whose faith hadn't been corrupted yet. Their names were Ainur, Rini, and Bagas. Ainur was an orphan raised by the madrasa caretaker, a man named Abdu. She was obsessed with Molia, watched his videos endlessly, dreamed of becoming like him, of healing people through supernatural power. Rini was her loyal best friend who would follow her anywhere. Bagas was the believer, the one who actually prayed, who kept warning them both that they were dancing with danger. None of them knew what was waiting in Pokan. None of them knew that Ainur's father, the father she never knew, was Molia himself. None of them knew that within days, Ainur would become a vessel for something ancient and hungry, that her friends would watch helplessly as she was consumed from within, that the only thing strong enough to save her would be the very faith she'd been neglecting all along. And none of them knew that beneath Molia's house, hidden in a sealed basement, dozens of bodies hung from hooks, the sacrificed victims of 15 years of bargains with darkness, each one drained slowly into buckets below, each one given willingly by loved ones who thought they were making deals for prosperity. Keep watching, because you need to understand, this isn't just horror for entertainment. This is a warning about what happens when people forget God. Let me take you back to where it started unraveling. That evening began like any other in Pokan. Shopkeepers closed stalls at sunset, farmers returned from fields. The sky burned orange and crimson, beautiful colors hiding the darkness gathering beneath. Nobody guessed that morning would never come for some of them. Our attention falls on Molia's house, that cold, heavy place children cross streets to avoid. Inside, symbols carved into woodwork hurt your eyes to look at. Artifacts line shelves, bones wrapped in black cloth, jars containing things that moved when you weren't looking directly at them, candles that never burned down. This was a place of dark worship. On this evening, Lam, Molina's most devoted disciple, moves through the house with agitation. He places a ceremonial bowl before Molia's portrait, retraces an ancient book with a hidden compartment, takes out a key that opens a door most villagers don't know exists, drinks from a liquor bottle to steady his nerves. That's when the lights begin flickering, At first, Lam thinks nothing of it, old wiring in this ancient house. But the flickering grows more intense, more deliberate, like something trying to communicate. Molia, he calls out, no answer. Then, total darkness. Lam grabs his flashlight, steps outside, calls again into the night. That's when he hears it, a wet, dragging sound coming from the shed behind the house. Something being pulled across dirt. He follows the blood trail he finds there. Fresh blood, still wet, around the shed to a clearing behind the property. And there lies Molia's body, dead, with his head severed cleanly from his neck, sitting beside his shoulders like a gruesome afterthought. When Lam touches the face, the severed head rolls, those dead eyes seeming to accuse him. The scream echoes across the sleeping village. 12 hours earlier, in another part of the region, 2 young women filmed something in a field. Ainur is performing intensely, body contorting unnaturally, voice dropping into registers too deep for a teenage girl. She's pretending to be possessed, acting. It's become their hobby, but for Ainur, it's more than hobby. She wants to be like Molia. She's seen his television appearances countless times, healing the sick, driving out demons with a touch and whispered words. To Ainur, he's a hero, a savior using supernatural gifts to help desperate people. You know this isn't right, Baga says, that familiar disapproval in his voice. If you want to protect people from bad jinns, pray. Actual prayer, not this performance nonsense. Before Ainur can snap back, she remembers something. What time is it? Almost 4. Molina's show. She's running, sprinting toward her bicycle, pedaling furiously toward the madrasa where she was raised by Abdu, the only father she's ever known. Abdu hates that she watches Molia's programs, hates the symbols she draws, hates the corrosion of her faith. When he finds her watching television instead of preparing for prayer, he turns it off firmly. He serves himself, Abdu tells her. There's nothing divine about that man. He's a fraud using trickery to manipulate desperate people. Ainur can't defend herself properly. She only knows that watching Molia makes her feel powerful, special, chosen. Feelings regular prayer never gave her. On screen today, Molia heals a crippled man who drops his crutches and walks. The audience weeps. Ainur presses against the screen, mesmerized, her hand moving unconsciously to a strange symbol on her palm, a marking she doesn't remember receiving. I'm going to be like him someday, she whispers. She has no idea how prophetic, how terrifying those words will prove to be. Meanwhile, in Pokan itself, a poor man arrives at Molia's door with his young daughter. He's here for money. He's heard the stories. Place coins in a box, and Molia multiplies wealth supernaturally. Wait here, he tells his daughter, and disappears inside. The little girl wanders, finds the abandoned mosque, ancient, crumbling, silent for 15 years. Despite the eerie atmosphere, she performs wudu, ritual washing, at the water tap, feels peace wash over her. That's when the second tap turns on by itself. Water streams toward her feet. She turns it off, confused but unafraid. She's just a child, returns to her washing. She doesn't see the darkness forming behind her, doesn't see something unfolding from shadows with too many limbs and hungry eyes. She prepares to pray, the first prayer this building has hosted in 15 years, and has no idea she's just reminded this place what it used to be. Something down below doesn't like being reminded. Inside the house, her father sits before Molia with a box containing all his worldly possessions. Molia places the man's hand on the box, then brings down a knife directly into his hand. The man screams as blood wells up. Molia chants in languages predating human speech, pours water over the wound, and the wound closes instantly, flesh knitting together like video playing backward. Now open the box, Molia commands. Inside, millions in currency where thousands sat moments ago. The man stares in disbelief. There's more available, Molia says smoothly. As much as you're willing to exchange. Anything. Your daughter, bring her tonight. A sacrifice to seal our arrangement permanently. The man's face cycles through shock, horror, and settles into acceptance, because desperation strips away everything except animal need. Some monsters wear parents' faces. That evening, Ainur and Rini walk back from market. Rini runs to buy something she forgot, leaving Ainur alone. Ainur, she turns. Molia stands there, knife in hand. You want to be like me, he says, voice carrying harmonics that shouldn't exist. Head for head, that's the price. He draws the knife across his own throat. Blood erupts across the space between them, covering Ainur completely. Molia's eyes go wide, and then he's falling, dead, onto the path. Ainur screams until her throat tears. Rini comes running. But when she arrives, the body is gone, empty ground, only a bloodstain remaining. No corpse, no knife, no evidence anything happened. Was it vision, hallucination? Or did something want Ainur to see exactly this? At the madrasa, news spreads. Abdu takes a phone call with growing horror. On television, a reporter stands outside Molia's house. Famous healer Molia found dead. Body discovered decapitated in Pokan village. Decapitated. Exactly what Ainur saw. That's what I witnessed, she whispers. Head for head. Then she asks the question that destroys Abdu's world. Was he my father? The silence stretches forever. How did you know? I felt it. When he died, something recognized him. Abdu sinks into a chair aged beyond his years. Your mother brought you to me when you were months old. She was dying. She made me promise never to tell you about him, never reveal what he was. What was he? A shaman, a practitioner of darkest arts. He served entities that should never be served. He traded in souls and blood, and he was very, very good at it. Ainur stares, processing. Her father wasn't absent because he didn't want her. He was absent because he was monstrous, and she had been worshipping him. I need to see him, Ainur decides. At the funeral. One last time. The next morning, she arrives at Pokan with Rini and Bagas. The street crowds with hundreds of mourners, weeping, wailing, prostrate with grief. A woman approaches. You're his daughter, I'm sorry. Molia's third wife. Third wife. Ainur's mother was first. A second wife existed somewhere in this history. Sari leads Ainur inside for the ritual washing before burial. The house's interior oppresses her. Subbles, artifacts, photographs with scratched-out eyes. Beside Molia's prepared body, Ainur reaches for his hand and freezes. The symbol, the same marking burned into her own palm, exists on his dead flesh. A brand marking him as property of something beyond the veil. His bond lamb speaks from behind her. The entity that served him, it's been waiting for you. And now that you're here, he smiles terribly. The real work begins. After burial, Lamb approaches privately. Your father left something for you. Come with me. Alone. Despite her friend's protests, Ainur follows. Through corridors that seem too long, downstairs descending too deep. Into a chamber beneath the foundation. A cavern with candles burning colors that shouldn't exist. An altar stained with substances unidentifiable. Air smelling of minerals and decay. Sit. She sits. Lamb chants in that ancient language. Candle flames dance to music she feels rather than hears. Then he produces the knife, the same blade from her vision. Hold out your hands. Her arms extend without her consent. Lamb cuts both wrists, shallow wounds bleeding freely. The blood moves, crawls upward against gravity. Pools in her palm symbol, glowing with impossible light. The mark burns deeper. Ainur screams, not just from pain, but from something pushing into her through the open wounds. That's when she sees it, the jinn, unfolding from shadows like darkness learning shape, taller than humanly possible, limbs bending at wrong angles. Face of hollow eyes and mouth opening too wide, filled with hundreds of needle teeth. The daughter, the vessel. Its voice sounds in her mind. It descends toward her bleeding wrists. Taste. Its mouth closes over her wound. Ainur feels herself draining, emptying, filling simultaneously with cold darkness spreading through her veins. Consciousness fragmenting, pieces dissolving into the entity feeding on her life. Then nothing. She wakes in a guest room. Sunlight through windows, wrists bandaged. Symbols darker, more permanent. Rini enters, relieved. What happened? Where did he take you? Ainur opens her mouth, and isn't her voice that emerges. Oh, leave the girl alone. The voice uses her vocal cords, but inflects too deeply, too anciently. She's exhausted. Stop pestering. Nur? Your voice? I'm not Nur. Smiles, too wide, too many teeth. I'm what's inside her now. Thanks to that delightful ceremony, the door is opened very wide. Rini backs toward the door. Bagas, help. Some door slams. Locks itself. This isn't kidnapping. It's contractual. The entity rises with movements too fluid for human bodies. I'm going to give her everything she wanted. Power, worship, and in return, she gives me everything. It backhands Rini into the wall. Don't do that again. Headaches are tedious. It leaves. Rini curls on the floor, praying desperately to God she hasn't spoken to in too long. Outside, the village awaits its new master. Over following days, Ainur, or whatever wears her skin, walks Pokan like a conqueror. People bow, press gifts into her hands. She performs miracles. Healing with a touch, cursing with a whisper, reading minds with accuracy that terrifies and captivates. Villagers transfer worship from father to daughter seamlessly. Only the vessel matters. The power within remains constant. Each day, the entity settles deeper. Each day, real Ainur, trapped inside her own mind, grows weaker, smaller, harder to detect. She screams in darkness, prays with faith she never knew she possessed until now. Prayers bounce off barriers, unheard, unanswered. Or so it seems. Bagas and Rini fight desperate war on multiple fronts. Trapped in village, warned leaving would be dangerous. They watch their friend consumed by evil. Spiritually confronting darkness neither believed existed until facing it directly. Bagas discovers something crucial. The entity has weaknesses tied to Islamic practices this village abandoned for 15 years. The Adhan, Quran recitation, proper worship. These things hurt the jinn, weaken it. One night, Bagas sneaks into the abandoned mosque and attempts the call to prayer. Barely through the first line, the jinn responds, "Your pathetic chants cannot harm me. I've fed on this village's abandonment for 15 years. Your God has no power here." Pressure crushes Bagas toward ground, but he forces words through gritted teeth. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Ashadu Allah ilaha illa Allah, the jinn screams. Sound shattering windows, cracking walls, blood pouring from Bagas's ears. But he doesn't stop. He completes the Adhan, and the jinn recoils, flickers like bad signal. Actually physically hurt, not defeated, but hurt, which means it can be beaten. Word spreads quietly among hidden believers. Sari, Melina's third wife, never stopped believing secretly despite participating outwardly in darkness, never stopped praying internally. Rehmat, son of Molia's second wife, born with a deformed leg his father miraculously never healed, figured out why through years of quiet observation. The jinn doesn't heal, it takes. Everything given returns double-fold eventually. The village hasn't been blessed, it's been farmed, harvested, and harvest is due. Climax builds like storm gathering. Bagas continues calling Adhan whenever possible, weakening the jinn incrementally. Rini searches Molia's forbidden texts for vulnerabilities. Sari protects Rehmat fiercely. And Ainur, trapped inside herself, watching through her own eyes as the jinn use their hands to hurt people, prays, in absolute darkness of internal prison, with zero proof anyone listens. With no evidence faith means anything, Ainur prays everything she has. Verses she learned as child and forgot. Scripture Abdu tried teaching that she dismissed as boring. She prays like life depends on it. Because it does. Third night of possession. Frustrated by Bagas's interference, the jinn makes an example of Sari pregnant, vulnerable, quietly undermining its authority since Molia's death. Drags her to village center before everyone. Begins feeding on her directly. Not blood. Worse. Despair. Terror. Surrender of hope. Tendrils of darkness wrap Sari's pregnant belly and pull, drawing out something luminous and vital. Sari screams maternally. Rehmat screams for his mother. Villagers watch paralyzed. Bagas starts the Adhan. Not from safety, from right there, feet from the jinn, voice ringing from somewhere deeper than himself. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu alla ilaha illa Allah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. The jinn howls sound-splitting sky, cracking earth, driving knees to ground. Grip on Sari loosens. Form flickers badly. And Ainur, deep in prison, hearing Adhan first time in eternity, feels something shift, walls, crack, just enough for light to penetrate. She pushes, everything remaining. Every ounce of will, every desperate hope. Prays with voice that doesn't exist, recites scripture no one hears, calls on God uncertain, he's listening. Jinn screams in pain, real agony. Creature torn from host, dragged back toward dimension, spawning it. Adhan continues. Bagas holds steady. Other voices join, then many villagers finding courage they didn't know existed. Even Rini recites fragments she remembers, and Ainur breaks free, explosion of visible light. Jinn ripped from body, manifesting as column of absolute darkness towering over village, thrashing, dying in divine presence summoned by combined sincere prayers. It tries fleeing. But prayers form impenetrable barrier. Creature trapped, confronted with God's wrath, name unspoken here for 15 years. Jinn looks at Ainur, at former vessel standing free among faithful light streaming from her skin, knows it's over, implodes, collapses, dissolves, leaving silence of village witnessing miracle undeserved. Ainur collapses, Bagas catches her. Eyes flutter open, real eyes, human eyes, brown and round-pupiled. Bagas? What happened? He holds her, weeping relief. Rini joins. Sari alive, pregnancy untouched, embraces them. Rehmat too. Villagers emerging from homes like animals from hibernation, blinking at brightness forgotten. Over, jinn destroyed. Village free, freedom carries terrible price. In Molia's basement, that hidden chamber where Ainur was bound, they find truth-sustaining jinn 15 years. Bodies, dozens, perhaps hundreds, hung from hooks lining walls, arranged in rows, stacked in corners. Men, women, children, villagers offered as payment for blessings, disappearances explained away with excuses no one questioned. Underneath each, bucket of blood, drained slowly over days or weeks, keeping victims alive just long enough to extract every drop before disposing empty husks. Smell indescribable. Sight unforgettable, reality of what village became in exchange for false miracles, more than many witnesses can bear. Several break down completely, others vomit until empty. Some stare catatonic, minds refusing processing. Ainur sees all of it. Stands center of charnel house, surrounded by evidence of father's crimes, of entities she briefly hosted, of darkness in her blood, whether wanted or not. I'm staying, she announces. I'm helping these people learn to pray again. Remember Allah. Rebuild what 15 years destroyed. They're victims, same as me. Manipulated, exploited, led astray by something stronger than resistance. If I abandon them now, who helps them recover? This is my responsibility, my inheritance. My father created this nightmare. His blood runs through my veins. If anyone must set things right, it's me. Rini weeps at her courage. Bagas argues, then surrenders respectfully. Sari nods admiration. Rehmat looks at her with cleaner worship directed at someone deserving it. We stay with you, Rini declares. Whatever you need. Not abandoning you. Never again. 6 months later, Pokan transforms completely, mosque restored, cleaned, repaired, filled with worshippers 5 times daily. Adhan echoes streets unheard for 15 glorious years. Basement sealed permanently with concrete and iron. Bodies recovered, properly buried according to Islamic procedure. Ainur lives in Molia's former house, not as shrine, but as school, community center, place where people come daily learning faith abandoned and God forgotten. Teaches Quran, proper prayer methodology, dangers of shirk, associating partners with Allah, seeking power from sources unworthy of trust. She's not same girl obsessively watching miracle videos. Not teenager thinking dark magic entertaining. Someone who looked abyss in eye and survived. Who felt jinn writhing inside her body and fought back to light through sheer faith. Who knows with certainty transcending doubt. Allah is real. Prayer works. Faith is strongest weapon humanity possesses against darkness. Baga stays, teaching beside her proudly. Spiritual leader always meant to be, humble, dedicated, firm but gentle. Rini divides time between Pokan and Madrasa, carrying messages between Ainur and Abdu. Who forgave eventually, understood unique path necessary, waits patiently for visits, tells everyone how proud he is. Rahmat's leg healed, not magically, but through legitimate surgery by competent Dr. Bags found. Not dramatic, instantaneous cure followers expected, but real. Permanent, human hands guided by divine wisdom rather than supernatural bargaining requiring blood. Sari didn't survive to witness rebirth. Night Jinn driven out, attacking her publicly, trying to drain life from unborn child. Inflicted invisible internal damage, revealing too late for medical intervention. Died 3 weeks later, peacefully asleep, Rahmat holding her hand, Ainur praying Quranic verses bedside. Final words, tell my child, the one I'll never hold, that I loved them completely. Fought for them with everything, would have given my life 1,000 times for theirs. Baby girl. Premature but healthy, screaming vitality, named Sari in honor. Ainur accepted godmother role solemnly. Promised raising child in faith and light and knowledge of Allah. Sari died protecting. Promised baby never experiencing darkness consuming village 15 terrible years, and the jinn? Gone. Vanished. Destroyed by combined sincere prayer power, by faith of people choosing remembrance over abandonment, by brave souls refusing surrender to despair. But world remains full of such entities. Full of darkness waiting to consume unwary, full of temptations promising everything while demanding everything valuable. Question isn't whether darkness exists, it does demonstrably. Question is, when it comes for you, and it will, you prepared, will you remember words mattering? Possess faith strong speaking them? Stand ground when everything commands bow? If this story remained with you longer than expected, if sitting there contemplating Ainur's journey from darkness toward light, Baga's finding courage calling Adhan when terror silenced everyone else, villagers losing 15 years to something promising everything while stealing souls. Perhaps that's sign worth attention. Sign faith matters more than admitted. Prayer works ways can't always perceive. Spiritual battles often prove more consequential than purely physical conflicts easily visible. I genuinely love hearing what this story made you feel. Frightened? Inspired? Move toward prayer, reconnecting with someone neglected, reviving faith grown cold. Comment below, I read every single response. And if believing stories like this deserve wider sharing, if knowing someone needing reminder that faith conquers fear, light overwhelms every darkness regardless how dense, you know precisely what to do. Subscribe if haven't, share with someone needing it, help spread light further into dark world, because world full of hidden jinns consume unwary, we're each other's best protection. And sincere prayer? Prayer, never jamming, never failing weapon for those wielding genuine faith. Allahu Akbar, God is greatest. His mercy endures forever, for seekers sincere. Until next story appears, stay faithful, vigilant, connected to Creator, never forgetting. Adhan is an empty ritual. It's lifeline thrown drowning souls. Grab it, hold it. Never release, regardless what darkness whispers. If this narration stayed with you beyond the final frame, if you're still thinking about Ainur's choices, Begaz's courage, the price Pokan paid for 15 years of forgotten prayer, let me know in comments below. Some stories deserve discussion beyond viewing. This is absolutely one of them. Until we meet again in the next darkness worth illuminating, may your faith remain stronger than your fears, your prayers louder than doubts whispering, your connection to the divine unbreakable regardless what forces array against it. Trust me when I say, the light always wins eventually. Always has. Always will. The question was never whether goodness triumphs, only whether we'll still be standing on its side when victory finally arrives. Choose wisely. Choose faithfully. Choose light, now and always.